everybody, in this video you will be learning about anonymous types in C#. The agenda of my video will be what is an anonymous type, syntax and declaration of an anonymous type, accessing anonymous types, nested anonymous types, and array of anonymous types. So let's get started. What I'm going to do first, I'm going to create a console application in Visual Studio. Over here, I've created a console application in Visual Studio. Now let us talk about what is an anonymous type. Basically, an anonymous type is a type without a name, and it can contain public read-only properties. It can only contain public read-only properties. It cannot contain other members such as fields, methods, or events. Okay? It can only contain public read-only properties. It can be created by using the new keyword or new operator with no class name. Again, it's anonymous type. It's without a name. Okay? Now let's take a look at how we can create an anonymous type. So in order to create an anonymous type, what you have to do is you have to say var, just like that, and then you have to give it a name. So let's go ahead and call this student and initialize this to new. And as you can see, we don't have a class name. You just have two curly brackets. This is like an object initializer, and you have a semicolon. Okay? So inside of here, you can have your public read-only properties. So let's go ahead and create a property called ID and initialize this to some value, for example, 10. Have another one, for example, name. You can set this to your name. So office. And at last, we're going to have one more division and assign this to a character, which should be inside of single. Now let's take a look at how we can print a value from this anonymous type. So of course, it's very simple. Outside of this anonymous type or this object initializer, what you should do, you should say console.writeLine student, that is the name of your anonymous type, but the property that you want to access. So as you can see, division, ID, name are available. So there are some properties. So let's go ahead and print out ID first. Then we'll print out the other properties, for example, division, and then we'll print out. So let's go ahead and run the program and check what will be that. So actually what this is going to do is print out the value of ID, that should be 10, and then the value of division, that is D, and then the value of name, that is object. So first we should get 10, and then we'll get D, and then we'll get object. So let's go and run the program. And as you can see, that on the console is 10, D, and object. That is expected. Now let's try and concentrate more on how anonymous types are handled internally. So basically, anonymous types are derived directly from the system.object class, that is a base class for all reference types. By the way, anonymous types are reference types. So what's going to happen is the compiler will internally create a class with these properties inside of them. And the class name is going to be an auto-generated name. So again, these are public read-only properties. So I'm just going to prove that to you, that how it's going to work internally by console.writeLine student dot get type method. Okay, that. Let's go ahead and run the program again. I'm just going to click F5, and as you can see over here, first we get the name of the class, the auto-generated name. In our case, it's anonymous type 0. And then we get the types of the property. So system.in32, that's for ID. System.string is for name. And system.character is for division. So I just proved that to you by the getType method. Now let me just concentrate more a little bit on anonymous types. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and update a value from this anonymous type. Over here, so what I will do is I'm going to say student, that is of course the name of the anonymous type, dot, I'm just going to update the ID. Okay, ID, let's just set this to some other value, like 100. So as you can see, that is not possible. We have an error. So property or index or anonymous type int ID string name char division cannot be assigned to. It's read-only. So if you recall that I said inside of an anonymous type we have public read-only properties. And read-only means that we cannot reassign it, right? It's read-only. Now we did the same thing with tuple. Okay, tuple over here. So first ID, name, char, division, char. Char division. Then give you a name. So student 2, student 1, and assign this. So inside of here I'm gonna pass in the ID 10 public. Okay, let's just give some other ID. Okay. And we need one more. I'm gonna now division. I'm gonna set this to value that is C. Semicolon. And now we actually try to reassign a value from here. Like for example, if I say student 1, assign a value in the tuple. For example, let's reassign ID. We can reassign it to any value without any errors. But with anonymous type, we can do that because the properties are read only. Another big difference between anonymous types and tuples are that anonymous types cannot be returned from a method. Means they cannot be used as the return type for a method. But of course, tuples can be used as return type for a method. And if you want to actually pass in this anonymous type as a parameter to a method, then we can just do that. But that is not recommended. If you want to do something like that, then it is recommended that you define a new class and do it. You don't do it with an anonymous type. You do it by defining a new class. So now let's go ahead and talk about nested anonymous types. So over here, I just want to say that nested anonymous types are an anonymous type inside of an anonymous type. So let's take a look at how we can kind of like declare have nested anonymous type. So over here inside of the student anonymous type, I'm going to create another anonymous type called address. Okay, address. Actually, we need to initialize this to new the same style. Use that semicolon there. No, we don't need that actually. So inside of here, you can have the properties first. So let's go ahead and have like city. Initialize to Bangalore. Right. Okay. And we'll have state. Initialize to Karnataka. Okay. And now let's take a look at how we can kind of like access this properties that are inside of this anonymous type, the nested anonymous type. So over here, instead of printing out student.id, we will have one more suggestion. As you can see, address. So address, and we don't print address, we print a property inside of that. So address.city. And let's go with the program. And what we should get the output is Bangalore, because that's the value of city that inside of this nested anonymous type. Okay, as you can see over here, output is Bangalore. That's the expected output. Okay, that is working fine. So that's the concept of nested anonymous types. Now let's go ahead and talk about the concept of an array of anonymous types. So in order to demonstrate that to you, I'm just going to remove this address property. Just remove even this. Okay, I'm going to remove everything over here just to make it more clear. Now what we're going to do is we're going to say var. We're creating an array. So var, let's go ahead and call this students, equals new, and then we'll have the same declaration of an array, new square brackets. And inside of here, what we will do is we'll have these square brackets itself, and we're gonna say new, okay, curly bracket. So we're creating an anonymous type, new curly bracket, and inside of that we'll have these properties. So okay, I'm just gonna put all of these in one line, and I'm just gonna click Control KD in order to format these or put them in the correct order. This. Okay, they're all properly aligned now. Now we'll have one more anonymous type inside of here. So copy paste, and ID is going to be set to 20. The name is going to be set to object. The division is going to be again set to C. Okay, so now we're creating an array of anonymous types. So now let's take a look at how we can access these inside of the array of anonymous types. So in order to do that, we'll have a for each loop. For each, it have var student in student. And we'll go to console.writeLine student dot ID. We'll take that. Second one we will print name, and third one we will print division. Just like that. Let's go ahead and run the program and check what will be the output. So just click Control plus F5 in order to run my program. Okay, it's over here. Okay, so let's take a look at this output over here. First we get 10. That is the first value over here inside of ID, the first anonymous type. And then we get akshits, that is the value inside of this anonymous type. So just move that, akshits, and then we get D, that is division. And same thing for the second anonymous type, ID is 20, Advik is the name, and division is set to C. Okay, let's go and close that. Now we have learned about an array of anonymous types and how we can access that. And now I hope you have understood about anonymous types in C#. Goodbye till the next video. Thanks for watching, and until then, enjoy C#.